Ordering a custom instrument can feel risky, not because there's a shortage of options, because there's far too many. There's so many makers, all got different models, different woods, different bracing patterns, different scale lengths, different adornments. All these makers sort of saying the right things, saying the same things, making guitars that look very similar to each other. How do you choose? I do sort of communicate with a lot of musicians. This is a situation in which you can expect doubt to arise. You know, you've got the money set aside, you're ready to make a move. There's lots of ways in which you can do this wrong. The best way to do this wrong is to have a big list of spec that you want, because you fantasized about all these different things you want, and then you start going to makers with this list of things and you're trying to get the best deal. You're not interested in the maker, you're just interested in a pair of hands. That's a surefire way of being disappointed, because choosing a maker isn't about getting the most features for your money. It's about finding a maker with whom you share common ground, and I'll explain what I mean by that as we go along. Because when the right instrument arrives, it's an emotional response, very much so. There's this, it clicks. There used to be a comedy show in the 90s called The Fast Show, and they had this character called Swiss Tony. And he was like a sleazy salesman. He'd always say something like, selling a car is like making love to a beautiful woman, and off he'd go on this ludicrous analogy. But there is an element of trying to find the right partner, basically, when you're trying to find a luthier. Because you're making an investment. I mean, when you get the right instrument, most of your questions and your doubts disappear. That's when you know it's the right instrument, because you're not thinking anymore, you're just playing. So here's a few things to consider before you go sending off emails to luthiers. So what comes first? In these days of the internet, it is actually the eyes that come first. My old boss, there was no internet when he started. Most people who ordered one of his instruments either played one or they were a fan of a musician who played them. And I still get work like that. Most years, there's usually maybe a quarter of my work is repeat customers, people who've already got one of my instruments. Another lot will be people who've played them and want one. There's always a big chunk of people who found me on the internet. They've never played one of my instruments. And it's the eyes that come first when you're dealing with the internet. So it's tempting to sort of get pulled in by the beautiful photos. And I get it. That's part of my job, is to tempt you lot with pictures of nice looking guitars. My work's very plain. Some makers do really ornate stuff. I mean, occasionally I get people who ask us to make something really ornate, and I just say no, I don't do it. I like very simple. To me, less is more. So you need to find a maker whose work, where the pair of you agree on what looks nice. That's step one. Next, it's the ears. Has to be. Does this maker even have sound samples? If they don't, this is a red flag. You need to hear the different models. It's great if you can go back through the years and find that different sound samples. Is there a sort of recognizable sound to their work? Is there a recognizable quality to their work? I mean, I've got videos going back years. There's one of a Model D guitar just recorded on a Panasonic camcorder. It sounds great. It's not a professionally recorded sound sample. It was a great guitar. It would have sounded good being recorded with anything. So listen to as many sound samples as you can. Get the headphones on or get the good speakers on. Go through them. Spend the time listening. And if they haven't got any sound samples, personally, I'll be moving on. Third one, shared values. Have they done interviews? Do they do videos like this? How do they speak? What do they speak about? I mean, some people, they're very poetic. Other people, other makers, when they talk, they sound like engineers. It's just different personalities that might clash or accord with you. I mean, sometimes it's like listening to sportsmen speaking. No offense to the sportsman. Actually, it is quite offensive to the sportsman. But it's just like a list of platitudes. You know, I don't know how much use it is. Problem comes when you've got a maker who's relatively young or relatively new, and they've learned about guitar making from the internet, and they've learned their views not from building guitars but from reading forums. And if you spend a lot of time on forums, there's just you will be in agreement, but you're both saying things that might not be based on experience, rather than based on what other people say. And I think there's a lot to be said for your own experience, and there's a lot to be said for steering clear of forums for opinions, because what one maker does with spruce and rosewood will be completely different from another. You can't apply spruce sounds like this in rosewood, Indian rosewood sounds like that. It doesn't work like that. So ask yourself, you know, is this person, are they sincere? Are they building with care, conviction? So the fourth one is what's important to you and what's important to that maker. Is it the same thing? If the maker and you have the same priorities, that's good, because there is going to be a conversation. There's going to be a back and forth about what this instrument looks like, what it sounds like, how it's made. And if you're both talking the same language, you both care about the same things, it's going to be a much easier conversation. If you really care about sound and you're talking to a maker who really cares about inlay, you might have picked the wrong person. I found a line here from one of my clients. Let's get it complete. It was Robert. I built him a Bazooki. Communicating arty ideas by email across thousands of miles in different time zones isn't easy, but I always felt Nigel was listening and understanding what I wanted. That's how it should be, you know. He picked the right maker for him. I'm not the right maker for everyone, for sure. I mean, there's a good few people every year, just from their initial email. I just don't even respond. I'm not a good fit. So that should help you if you've got a list of makers who you're considering. That should help you whittle them down to 2 or 3 maybe. Now the next problem is spec. What exactly do you get? What materials? What bracing pattern? What scale length? What model? And this can really tie people in knots. So I've made a video all about that. Click the link. They're going to be in this box here. If there's not a box there, it's in the description below. But click the link, and I'll see you in the next video.